You know those moments, right? Those heart-stopping, knuckles white on the steering wheel moments where you realize you were just a split second, maybe an inch, away from a really bad accident. We've all been there. But what if I told you those terrifying near misses aren't just random bits of bad luck? What if there's a hidden pattern to all that chaos? Well, let's dive in and see what the data tells us. Just picture this for a second. You're driving along, minding your own business, and out of nowhere, a motorcycle just rockets past you. I mean, it's so close that its handlebar flashes right past your window, so close you can literally feel the air move. That's not just a close call, that's the kind of thing that gets your heart pounding and stays with you for the rest of the day. And you know, sometimes it gets even more complicated. It's not just one other vehicle. Suddenly, you're trapped. You're pinned between a swerving bike, another car, and the edge of the road, and there is absolutely nowhere to go. It's this feeling of total helplessness. Like you're stuck in this crazy three-way dance where just one wrong move from anybody means disaster for everyone. And that is the razor's edge we're talking about. That tiny, tiny distance between a totally normal drive home and a moment that could change your life forever. One little mistake, one sudden U-turn, and everything is different. And believe me, when we start to look at the data from hundreds of these moments, the patterns that show up are, well, they're pretty chillin'. So you have to ask, right? Is this all just the price of being on the road? Are we just powerless against these random acts of craziness? You might think so, but it turns out, when you actually analyze the patterns from all these near misses, a surprisingly clear picture starts to form.
So let's talk about the danger window. It turns out there really is a pattern. And by looking at the when, the where, and the how of these close calls, we can actually pinpoint a specific time when the risk on our roads just goes through the roof.
And that's the big takeaway here. This stuff isn't random. These terrifying moments, they actually cluster together. They group up around a very specific time of day, creating this predictable spike in danger that most of us are driving right through, completely unaware.
And here it is. The data doesn't lie. When you look at countless reports of near misses, you see this massive, undeniable peak. The single hour between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. is, by a long shot, the absolute worst time to be on the road. This is the peak danger window. It's like a perfect storm, where rush hour traffic, schools getting out, and just general end-of-day tiredness all collide.
But it's not just when you drive. It's also about who you're driving next to and where you are. The data points a huge finger at two specific types of vehicles, motorcycles and auto rickshaws. And the most dangerous places? Highways, areas around schools, and especially winding, curved roads. That's where you see those scary, ultra-close overtakes and those sudden, unexpected U-turns happen the most.
Okay, so now that we know the risk factors, let's actually break down the mechanics of how these things happen. Because sometimes it's not just about bad driving decisions. Sometimes it's the very geometry of the road that's setting the trap.
Let's look at this one scenario, which the data calls an S-curve double tackle. Sounds intense, right? Well, it is. When you're on one of those banked, winding roads, the physics of the curve itself can actually push two vehicles onto a collision course, especially when one is going way faster than the other.
And this just perfectly illustrates how it all goes down. So as the car and the bike enter that S-curve, the car naturally takes that tight inside line. But the motorcycle, because it's going so much faster, is forced by physics to swing out on a wider outer path. And as that curve gets tighter, well, you can see where this is going. Those two paths are destined to cross. The road itself is what creates the danger.
Okay, here's another classic hazard, the blind T intersection. You see these all the time in cities, right? Where buildings are built right up to the corner of a street. What happens is those buildings create these massive blind spots, making it literally impossible to see the traffic coming across until you're already pulling out into the intersection.
You can see the conflict so clearly here. Vehicle A is making a right turn, pulling directly into the path of Vehicle B, which is just driving straight. But because of those buildings creating blind spots, neither driver has any idea the other one is there until it's way, way too late. I mean, it is a perfect blueprint for a nasty side impact collision.
So, understanding the problem is one thing, but what do we actually do with this information to keep ourselves safe? Well, this is where we can take all these insights and turn them into concrete actions with some clear, data-driven strategies.
All right, this is your new action plan. Number 1, during that 4 to 5 p.m. danger window, just slow down. Seriously, dropping your speed by 20 or 30% gives you so much more time to react. It's your biggest advantage. 2. Stop hugging the median. Give yourself some space, an escape path, just in case you need one. 3. Increase your following distance. Give yourself a bigger buffer, especially near curves and schools where things can go wrong in a flash. 4. Always anticipate crazy moves from autos and motorcycles. Just assume they might cut in front of you. And finally, number 5, look way down the road. Try to scan 3 or 4 cars ahead. If you can spot trouble starting way up there, you'll have a huge head start.
So here's the bottom line. Those moments on the road that feel so random, they're not. They follow very clear, very predictable patterns. The data essentially gives us a map of the danger zones. So the only real question left is, now that you know this, how are you going to change your drive home?